I'm Oral Hershiser, and I am on the Blue Review.
Hey, this is Sean Green. You're watching the Blue Review.
Hey, happy Friday, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Blue Review. I'm Marcas Grant. That is Greg Bergman. And what did you do with I think I know what you did with your free evening yesterday. It probably was not a pleasant ending to what happened last night.
Yeah, so it was interesting. Yeah, if you're a Laker fan, you should be wanting to be on the Blue Review this morning just to talk about something that is joyous, than opposed to it. Then there was a lot of complaining about refs yesterday. It was just rough. I had a chance to go to Netflix as a joke at the Hollywood Bowl. Adam Sandler. There was a huge amount of people, like superstar comedians, and I stayed on my couch and watched the Laker game.
Yeah.
What'd you do with your night off?
I mean, I mostly watched the Lakers. So it's my wife is definitely a huge LeBron fan and watches the Lakers, but she also has a thing that when they're not playing well, she will either turn the sound off or she will pause the game altogether. So I left the room to help get the kid to sleep. I come back and the game is paused with the Lakers down 5 with about 8 minutes left or whatever it was. And I hit play. She's like, no, I didn't stop it because I was waiting for you. I stopped it because I didn't want to watch them lose. I was like, okay. And then we turned around and started watching something else. So that was sort of how the night went.
Oh, it's brutal. But we have happy things to talk about.
We do have happy things. Yes, I have happy things to talk about. First, we'll let you know that the Blue Review is powered by LAX. LAX Skylink train is currently in testing, preparing to provide a direct, fast, and free connection to the new rental car center, the airport terminals, and the LA Metro. For more information, you can visit lawa.org/ESPN. All right. Dodgers were off yesterday after winning 2 of 3 from the Astros in Houston. Come back home for a really big 3-game series this weekend with the Atlanta Braves, who right now sport the best record in all of Major League Baseball. But a few things to get to. One, so we won't see him this weekend, but some good news for the Dodgers is that Mookie Betts is going to start a rehab stint in Oklahoma City. He is expected to play for the Comets this weekend. And Greg could be back maybe as soon as Monday. That is excellent news.
That is excellent news because we need Mookie's bat back in the lineup, and he needs to be Mookie. It might take a little bit of time, but the fact is having Mookie Betts in your lineup instead of I don't know, Santiago Espinal, or it is going to move either Freeland or Ha-Seong Kim around too, because that's gonna. I don't know if one of them goes down at that point or just stays up with the club, but it's your Ha-Seong Kim is probably either going to go to second or Freeland is going to go down, or they're going to just go back and forth. It's going to be an interesting conversation that we can get into, but getting Mookie Betts back is great for the Dodgers. And if he comes back on Monday, it's even better. It lengthens your lineup again. It puts another bat in your lineup that you're like, okay, we got to get around this guy. So it's really excited to see Mookie coming back.
Yeah, so I mean, let's kind of like break this down piece by piece. I mean, first of all, you sort of touched on, I mean, what your expectations for Mookie Betts, because even when he was here at the beginning of the season, granted, he played a grand total of 8 games before he got hurt, wasn't hitting particularly well. Obviously, with the oblique, he's going to have to work his way back. What version do we hope to see? Do we expect to see, I guess, by the time we get to, say, July, August? Are we going to see maybe not MVP level Mookie Betts, but maybe something better than what we got last year?
Yeah, I think we get something we got better than last year, but I don't know if I want MVP Mookie Betts to be in there still. I'm not sure how much of MVP Mookie Betts is still in there. And he came into the offseason where, he's doing the whole thing where he's got his arms where he's on right. Sensei's on his back, and he was working through those things, and he felt good, and he felt like he was having good at bats in in the cage, and he was really happy with his swing. It just wasn't correlating just yet, and then he got hurt. So I hope that this is he's coming back at the right time. He's coming back because he's healthy. He feels good. He feels good in the box. He feels so when he goes down to when he's at OKC, it's just kind of getting him ramped up and he's ready to go. I don't think it's going to be MVP level Mookie Betts, but something close, just like productive Mookie Betts.
Yeah.
Is that fair?
That's fair. And I think that's sort of what we're hoping for. Because again, he doesn't have to be the MVP in a lineup where you are surrounded by talent. You just hope that it's something. I'll say this. I'm hoping we see the Mookie that we saw last year in, like August, September, right? The point after which he just said, F it, my season's over. I'm just going to figure out what I can do to help the ball club. Because once he did that and he kind of shook everything off, he started hitting again. And I'm hoping that's the version of Mookie Betts that we get eventually. Like, I'm not expecting that, day one, week one, whatever. I think it's going to take some time for that to show up. But I do hope that that's the version that eventually does show up. I think what will also help is the position change isn't a thing anymore. Last year, I think there may have been some of that. I don't know if he will ever admit to that out loud, but let's say major deal learning to a new position, not just learning a new position, but learning shortstop of all those positions. And at some point you got to believe it takes a little bit of a toll on you, but now that part is in the past. So hopefully that helps him concentrate on what's going on at the plate. So I do hope we get that version of Mookie Betts.
And I hope so too. I hope you're absolutely right. But yeah, like what he's turned into at the position is a legit shortstop. I mean, if he would have played, if he's still playing, we are talking about him becoming a Gold Glove level shortstop. So that part is all in the past, thankfully. Now, what I want to know maybe from you is, where do you slot him in the lineup? So,
that was going to be my next question.
Okay, yeah. So let's talk about that, because if Kyle Tucker came in, he was number 2, and now he's down at 4, and sometimes at 5. Like, where he has to be in the top 5, right? Who gets knocked out of that top 5?
That is a good question. I think so. If I'm sketching this out right now, obviously we know Shohei is going to be hitting leadoff when he's in the batting order. I think I go back to Mookie at 2.
Me too.
I think I put Freddie at 3.
Yep. Me too.
Probably Will Smith at 4, Tucker at 5.
Me too.
I think that's the way I go with this.
Fully in agreement with you.
I mean, I know it doesn't mean as much nowadays, and it doesn't mean as much with this lineup, but I still think there's something to the left-right setup of the batting order there, because this lineup can get very left-hand heavy sometimes. When you have Shohei and Freddie and Tucker and Muncy, you got Freeland hitting from the left side. At some point you're going to get Tommy Edman back, fingers crossed, who will be able to switch hit and hit from the left side. This can get very, very left-handed heavy. So I'd sort of like being able to break that up a little bit. But also, Tucker seems to have found something hitting a little bit lower in the lineup. I don't know if it's less pressure because he's not hitting behind Shohei, or if he just is finally finding his swing. But now that he's driving the ball, he's striking out less. I wouldn't really want to mess with that. I kind of just want to leave him where he is and let him work out whatever other issues he's got to work out down there.
Yeah, I think it does take a lot of pressure off him, but then you start looking at it, because look what happens to the lineup though, because we just named off 5 guys and we're putting Tucker down at
5. Yeah.
5. No, I think he's at 6. No, because you have Shohei, Mookie, Freddie. Yeah, you're right, at 5.
Yeah,
and you still have to fit in there Teoscar, Muncy, Pages, and then Freeland. I mean, that is one of the deepest lineups you will ever see. Freeland or Kim or whoever happens to be at second base for the day. That is a crazy deep lineup. The fact that Teoscar Hernandez is probably going to be your 7 hitter, or Pages is your 7, and Teo's being your 8. Is it Muncy who goes down to 7 or 8? That's kind of crazy to think about, right? Like that your top 5 are so strong that the guy that leads your team in home runs is going to be either 6, 7, or 8 in the lineup.
Yeah, I mean,
in
I
next
so I would
Muncie.
if we're gaming this out, right? If we're keeping it going, so Tucker at 5, I'd be okay with Muncie at 6, Pages at 7 because they seem very comfortable with him, kind of in that 7th slot.
Yeah.
To sort of have Muncie and Pages kind of kickstart the lineup at that point. So Pages at 7, and then 8 is some combination of I mean, geez, who would you have? You have Hassan Kim or Alex Freeland, whoever's playing that day. Oh, I forgot Teoscar.
Yeah, you forgot your Oscar.
Oh,
So
so wait, never mind. So
there
wait,
you
let me,
yeah, let's do this again. Okay, we got the top
back it
5,
up.
go to 6.
So I guess Muncie at 6.
You like Pages at 7. I like Pages at 7.
I like Pages at 7,
But is
but
Taylor going to be the 8th?
yes, I feel like I want Teo a little bit earlier than that. So
Right.
do you put Teo at 7 and Pages at 8? I mean, that's a pretty killer number 8 hitter to have there, but I also don't want to wait that long to get Pages to the plate.
Right. Because he just had a 3 home run game and started off the season super hot, went down a little bit, and now all of a sudden he has the 3 home runs game, and it looks like he's back to being Andy Paz of this year thank you, Houston.
Yeah.
So like these are champagne problems for sure.
For sure.
If we're wondering about whether Andy Pages, Max Muncy, or Teoscar Hernandez should be the 8th hitter in your lineup, like that's crazy to have that conversation. But that's where the Dodgers are at right now. And when Mookie comes back, it's no longer like worrying about the Alex Freelands, the Hassan Kims, and that kind of thing, where you're looking at Alex Call. It's like this is where does Dalton Rushing fit into all of this? You're starting to get back to the reason why everybody hates the Dodgers right now.
Yeah, exactly. And then I definitely want to talk about Dalton Rushing in just a little bit. But the other part of this is what becomes eventually of, or at least in the short term, of Hassan Kim and or Alex Freeland, because with Mookie coming back, there's really no chance for those guys to play every day the way they have been, or nearly every day the way they have been. One of them is going to have to naturally sit out. How do you manage that? Because Dave Roberts doesn't really want to play either one of those guys against left-handed pitchers.
Right.
So, who ends up losing at bats? I mean, for my money, I would, if there's a righty on the mound, I'm feeling a little bit more comfortable with Kim at the plate. I love his defense, but he seems to have found an approach that works for him. Freeland had a nice series in Houston, but overall the approach hasn't really been consistent.
No, it hasn't. But he did have a good series in Houston, just like everybody else. And he does have pretty good at bats. This is one of the bigger questions, and I always take it back to the spring training and Katie Woo. We're worrying about this backup
second baseman. Yeah.
Right. But at the same time, it's a real conversation, because this is the reason everybody, and I think Jeff Spiegel's this way, I think you're this way, I pretty much think it's me this way too. Santiago Espinal is an easy choice to just say DFA, but maybe not, because you want a right-handed bat because of when there's a lefty on the mound, like you're talking about, at second base, to be able to have that switch at second base. And if Mookie's back, you're going to want as many at bats for either Hassan Kim or for Alex Freeland. So you have to decide which guy is going to go down. It seems like, this is just pure speculation, one of those guys are going to go down only because of getting at bats, not because of their play, not because they don't belong in the major leagues, but they may just put one of them down to get as many at bats as possible, because sitting on the bench with the big club and just waiting to Hassan Kim, for example, just being a late inning replacement for his speed and being a pinch runner, that's not the reason to do it. Or if it's a lefty on the mound to start and you start Rojas, if it comes down to a lefty, do you really want to just have them sitting waiting for that change in back ends of the innings? I just don't see it. So one of those guys could go down and they hold on to Espinal just to hold on to him. You know what I'm saying? And if that is the case, if you believe my theory that one of them will go down, which one is it?
I
would believe the theory.
I do believe the theory. I mean, I do think that the Dodgers, the organization, isn't going to want those two guys just sitting on the bench waiting for occasional opportunities, because that development time is way too valuable for both of them. And so I think they will probably send at least one of them down. For my money, that's probably Alex Freeland. Again, just because the at bats have not been as consistent as what we have seen from Ha-Seong Kim. I mean, Kim right now hitting 314. I know that's not going to last all year long, but it speaks to the fact that he has figured out kind of what to do. He's staying up the middle. He's going the other way. He's trying to hit line drives. I mean, we talk about this team not hitting the ball on the ground. If there's anybody you want to hit the ball on the ground, it's probably Ha-Seong Kim, just because he's got maybe the best chance to beat out a ground ball somewhere in the infield. But he seems to have kind of found it a little bit more. Freeland's looking a little bit more comfortable, but I think I would prefer to see him get more at bats somewhere. I don't know if that's how the organization thinks, but that's kind of how I'm thinking about it. So.
Yeah. So, I mean, I agree with you. I love Ha-Seong Kim, so I want him to stay up. I love what he brings to the team. And like you said, he's hitting the ball the other way. He's being somebody that has good at bats now. He has as many walks as Alex Freeland does. So I think Freeland has one more now, but they were right there on top of each other. And he's not striking out as much as he was before. He's hitting velocity, which is something that was a major problem for him in the past. Lefties are still a little bit of a problem, but I like seeing Ha-Seong Kim more often in the lineup than Alex Freeland. But if you're just going off of what Dave Roberts said at the beginning of the year, is that they're going to give Alex Freeland as big of a runway as possible. And that's not sending him back down in May. Whereas they feel like they can send Ha-Seong Kim back down. I don't, who knows what it's actually going to be. We're going to find out probably by Monday what that's going to be like. But, it's going to be interesting. I know it says, so Dodger Dog says, let's be honest. It doesn't matter if it's Kim or Freeland. If Kim goes, we're only missing him because we like him, not because his play is going to be desperately missed. I don't necessarily agree with that. I think nobody is going to be desperately missed if you're a backup second baseman. But at the same time, he brings so much, like we were talking about, the speed in general, Marcus.
Yeah, I mean, he brings that speed element. I mean, I'm somebody who loves watching really good middle infield play, and he has been an absolute joy to watch.
Sure do.
I do. I love it. Is a thing about me. I am a sucker for really good middle infield play, and I have enjoyed watching what is the best middle infield in baseball. Many people are saying that. By many, I mean me.
And now everybody.
Everybody. Like, people are saying it more and more. So I do think there's an element of that, but yeah. I don't think opposing pitchers, opposing managers are looking up and down the lineup and, staying awake at night figuring, how do we get Ha-Seong Kim out? How do we neutralize his bat? But I do think there's something to it. And again, a guy who's given them some quality innings in the field, given them some quality at bats this year. I think there's something to be said for something like that.
Yeah.
So.
And Bubba Holmberg says Freeland is going to be trade bait with everyone healthy. Nowhere for him, and he could bring back a return in the package.
That's interesting. I don't know if the Dodgers here's the thing. I think it depends on what they're being offered, right?
Yeah.
I know John Ireland likes to every few weeks he seems to put this question to me and Travis Rogers of, what if probably not the Tigers anymore with Skubal hurt, but what if the Pirates were to offer you Skeens, but you have to give up Alex Freeland, Dalton Rushing, whatever, Andy Pages, whatever, and Travis and Ivy, they'd be like, we do the deal.
He loves to make these outrageous, like, I got you. I'm going to name all these young guys. They're all from inside, and there's no way. It's way too hard for you. And you're like, yeah.
Right. Like, no, you do the deal. You get Paul Skeens, and you figure out how to backfill in your organization with those other positions.
Yeah.
So
I do think Bubba's there's some parts of that I agree with. Nowhere for him really, I think, is the biggest thing that he's saying. He's also
Yeah.
not somebody that plays in the outfield. So with the positionality, what the Dodgers like at second base is somebody that can play a multitude of positions everywhere in the infield and can play in the outfield. Ha-Seong Kim can. He's maybe not amazing at it, but he can play in the outfield as well. Like, you remember, go back to Chris Taylor, Kike Hernandez, guys that can kind of just bounce around if you need them to. Freeland seems to be more of an infield guy, and he's very, very good at it. So there's nowhere for him. The only place for him is second base, and that's a position of need right now. So if he can get back on track and being somebody that is hitting the ball well, like he has in Houston, is walking a lot more and being more patient at the plate, then he has a space. He actually can be the everyday second baseman for this team for the long run. They don't have that position filled, I guess, when Tommy Edman comes back. But I mean, I
don't know that he's the future at second. He's a good option right now, but I don't think the Dodgers are planning a long-term future with Tommy Edman at second base.
Right, exactly. So, and also Tommy Edman was probably going to be a center fielder until Pius just took over that center. It's mine, and he grabbed it and he said, "This is my position. You're not touching it," which I love, by the way.
Yeah, he ran through Kike Hernandez to get that position there in center field too, once upon a time. Real quick before we get out of here, story in The Athletic came out yesterday, a combo platter, a collab, if you will, from Fabian Ardaya and Katie Wu about Dalton Rushing and the fact that Rushing has sort of earned a reputation for himself early in this season as a guy who, let's say, ruffles some feathers. How about that? And an interesting story. It's worth your time to read. You and I were kind of going through it. One of the big takeaways is that the comparisons were to AJ Przinsky, who was a noted heel when he played, and Przinsky saying, "I really like the way that guy plays. I like the cut of his jib."
Love that.
And you and I were saying, is that really the guy you want vouching for you? But I will say, I think Rushing brings an attitude to this team that is kind of needed. There's nobody else that sort of has that attitude. And I think he sort of brings a fire that, even a two-time world champion could probably use in the clubhouse.
No, yeah, absolutely. I like when you have at least one villain, the guy on your team that you're like, God, I hate that guy. I'd love to have him on my team, but I hate the fact that he's on on that team. So I think Dalton Rushing is that guy. And I mean, they talked about in that story. If you should go and read Katie Wu because she's amazing, but talks to a bunch of people, and they talk to Freddie Freeman, and Freeman is saying, like, look, I'm not going to tell him to play any different because that's the way that he has to play. And that's the way, like, as long as he's playing well, great. I probably wouldn't say some of the things that I say on camera. And I think that's the thing that matters the most, is that he doesn't start messing with the clubhouse and he doesn't start messing with the locker room. When Freddie Freeman is saying, yeah, cool, do your thing, great. When Freddie Freeman then says, but don't do this, that means that he's already kind of starting to, and it's a kind of a warning shot of like, hey, you can be this guy, be him as much as you want to be, but don't take it over the line, because then you start messing with me, then you start messing with all of us and the clubhouse, and that's when it becomes a problem. But being a villain on this team, on a team of guys that are just like, how do you hate those guys? You can't hate Shohei, you can't hate Mookie, you can't hate Freddie, you can't hate Teoscar. Like, they're just not possible to. So it's good to have that guy that's hated.
Yeah, I'm seeing in the chat, Straight Heat 810 saying he's like Alex Verdugo. JF699 saying nobody will be Milton Bradley level, though. That's probably true.
No
one's probably ever going to be the Milton Bradley type level. But yeah, Dalton Rushing is definitely figuring out how to irk some opponents. The Giants come into town next week, so we'll see if we get another dust up like that again. But to this point, he's also backed it up on the field, and that's the part that's really been good to see. A guy who last year didn't hit particularly well, really was frustrated by it, really worked on it, and we have seen the results through the first 6 weeks or so of the season. So very cool for that. But again, go check it out at The Athletic. Fabian Ardaya, Katie Wu collabing on the Dalton Rushing story about his burgeoning reputation as a villain around Major League Baseball. The good guys, though, They are back in action tonight at Dodgers Stadium against the Atlanta Braves, first of a 3-game series. Emmett Sheehan gets the ball for the Dodgers, going against Chris Sale. So should be a good one. Of course, we'll be back with you on Monday to recap everything that happened over the weekend, and hopefully, fingers crossed, talking about the return of Mookie Betts as well. But stick around. The Sedano Cap Morning Extravaganza is coming up after we are done. Thanks to everybody in the chat. Be sure to go out and get your mom a present for Mother's Day.
That's right.
Coming up on Sunday. Thanks to Carlo for production assistance. For Greg, I'm Marcus. That'll do it for this edition of the Blue Review presented by LAX. Back with you Monday morning, 6:30 to 6:55 here on the ESPN LA YouTube channel. See ya.
See ya.